There was a machine sitting in American kitchens for over 100 years that ran on absolutely nothing. No plug, no compressor, no bill. And the strange part is, it was called the refrigerator, before the electric version ever stole the name. Today, we're rebuilding that machine for about $25, with one upgrade the original inventor never had access to: salt. Not sprinkled on food, frozen into the ice itself. And once you understand why that works, you'll understand why an entire industry spent a century making sure you never heard about it. Picture Maryland in the early 1800s. A farmer named Thomas Moore has a butter problem. He hauls his butter 20 miles to the Georgetown markets, and by the time he arrives, the summer heat has turned his firm blocks into a soft, sweating mess he can barely sell. Moore happens to also be a skilled cabinet maker, so he builds himself a fix. A cedar tub with a tin chamber inside, ice packed between the two layers. The whole thing wrapped in rabbit fur for insulation. His butter shows up cold and firm while everyone else's is melting on the table, and buyers start paying him a premium for it. Word travels far enough that Thomas Jefferson himself comes out to see the thing, takes notes, sketches it, and later buys one for his own home. In 1803, Moore gets a patent signed personally by Jefferson. And here's the detail worth sitting with. The name Moore chose for his invention was refrigerator. That's the first time the word was ever used for a device. For the next 100+ years, when Americans said refrigerator, this is what they meant: a box, insulation, and ice. No electricity, because household electricity barely existed yet. That ice had to come from somewhere, and a Boston businessman named Frederick Tudor built an empire supplying it. He started small, shipping roughly 80 tons of pond ice to Martinique in 1806, a voyage everyone in Boston assumed was a joke. Decades later, he was moving somewhere around 50,000 tons a year to nearly 30 American cities and international ports, with Calcutta becoming his single most profitable destination on the planet. By 1900, ice boxes were standard in American homes, fed by a daily iceman's delivery and a card in the window telling him how many pounds to drop off. That system fed the country for a century. Then, electric compressors arrived in the 1930s, and within a few decades, the icebox had become a museum piece. So here's what we're bringing back, minus the Iceman. The body of your machine is just an insulated box, and an ordinary cooler from a garage sale genuinely beats anything Tudor's customers ever had. That's your icebox. The upgrade is the cold source. Instead of pond ice, you're freezing salt brine, heavily salted water sealed into sturdy containers and frozen solid. And I want to be upfront about what this actually is before I sell you on it. It's a cold battery, not a cold generator. You're charging those blocks in your own freezer first. The box itself burns zero electricity, but the cold has to come from somewhere, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. That framing is exactly why this thing is genuinely useful for specific situations. A blackout, where your electric fridge becomes a warm, useless box and blocks you froze days earlier keep working. An off-grid cabin. A week-long camping trip, a second overflow fridge that costs nothing all summer. The itemized cost, honestly. A used cooler, $10 to $15, or free if you've already got one sitting in the garage. A bag of salt, $5 to $8. Containers you already have in your recycling bin. And one thing I'm adding on principle, a cheap fridge thermometer for $3 to $5, because this video makes a food safety claim, and on this channel, claims get checked with a number, not a feeling. Now the physics, and there are only two pieces you need. First, insulation plus mass. A well-sealed box slows heat down to a crawl, and a large, very cold mass inside soaks up whatever heat does sneak in. That's the entire mechanism behind every icebox that ever worked. Tudor's customers ran a household kitchen on 300-pound blocks packed in sawdust walls. Your cooler already has better insulation than that. All it's missing is the mass. Second piece, freezing point depression, something we've covered before on this channel. Dissolve salt heavily into water, and it refuses to freeze at the normal 32 degrees. A saturated brine can push down toward roughly 6 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit before it fully freezes, which means your block starts its life nearly 40 degrees colder than a plain ice cube ever gets, and it has to warm up through that whole extra range before it quits working. Colder start, longer runtime, from the exact same freezer you already own. How cold this actually gets you in practice, stated honestly. Campers and off-gridders who've run plain ice against salted brine blocks in identical coolers consistently report the salted version lasting close to double, sometimes stretching a normal 2 to 3 day cooler into most of a week. I'm not going to hand you a single precise lab number here because I haven't found a controlled study that nails one down. What I can tell you is the pattern shows up again and again in independent reports, and the underlying chemistry backs it up completely. Now the honest limits, stated as plainly as the claims. This is a battery, not a generator, so no banked cold means no cooling, full stop. Food safety means at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit on an actual thermometer. not a guess, and that's non-negotiable. You need real mass, several containers worth, not one lonely frozen water bottle. It takes discipline, blocks rotated, food pre-chilled before it goes in, lid opened rarely. And your environment matters. A cooler baking in a hot garage is fighting a much harder battle than one sitting in a shaded pantry. Here's why this one upgrade never went mainstream, even though the icebox itself fed the whole country. The electric refrigerator won on real merit. No iceman to wait for, no melt, no maintenance, one steady temperature humming along forever. That's a genuine improvement, and I won't pretend otherwise. But it also changed the deal. An icebox was a one-time purchase with cheap, often free local ice. The electric fridge turned every kitchen into a permanent utility customer. A meter running every hour of every day for the rest of your life. And the salt brine trick that could have doubled an icebox's power stayed folklore because a used cooler and a bag of salt has no ad budget behind it. Nobody profits from a fridge you build for $25, so nobody spent money telling you it existed. To build it, start with any decent cooler with a tight lid gasket sited in the coolest, shadiest spot in your home. Dissolve a heavy dose of salt, rock salt, or calcium chloride ice, melt both work, into water, and pour it into sturdy sealed plastic containers, never glass, leaving about a quarter of each container empty since ice expands. If you're using calcium chloride, keep those containers strictly sealed and never let that brine touch your food directly. It's a different chemical from table salt and isn't meant to be eaten. Freeze the containers solid, shaking them once during freezing so the salt doesn't separate out. Load the blocks up top and along the sides, since cold sinks and pours down over whatever's below. Pre-chill your food before it goes in. Pack the box tight to minimize air pockets. Keep meats and dairy in the coldest zone directly under the blocks. And check that thermometer instead of trusting your hand. Run 2 or 3 sets of blocks on rotation, refreezing the spent set as you swap in fresh ones. A machine that fed an entire country for 100 years, rebuilt from things you already own, verified with a $3 thermometer instead of a promise. Hidden Fix Lab isn't telling you to throw out your fridge. We're telling you the backup plan your great-grandparents relied on every single summer still works exactly as well tonight as it did then, and it's still sitting there, forgotten, waiting for a bag of salt.